All right. Getting started, how to do a security checkup for your HubSpot portal. I'm Katie, presenting today. I'm the inbound marketing manager at Madison Marketing Group. I've been a HubSpot user for 8 years, and our agency has been a HubSpot partner agency for, I think, as long as the partner program has been around. So um, we're well versed in HubSpot. I'm also coming down with a little bit of a cold today, so I'm going to try and get through these slides as quickly as possible so I don't lose my voice later on. Our agenda today, we're going to talk kind of quickly, run through why security is important in HubSpot. This is all kind of obvious stuff. Um, and then we'll go through the individual tools and set up in HubSpot for what is available. So when we talk about why security matters, we can look at it through two kind of focuses: internal focus, so security within your company or business, and external focus, those outside of your business. Internally, it's important to make sure that your users have access to what they need to have access to, and not anything beyond that. You don't just want to give them access to everything if they don't need to have access to that. You want to make sure that your user data is secure from any external sources. And then you want to make sure that any integrations you're running are secure. And looking at the external focus for those outside of your business, you want to make sure that your contacts, so your leads, your customers, they feel confident that their data is safe with you. And a secure account and secure business is basically the baseline for building trust with your customers. So it's really important. Jumping into how to secure your portal, there's three kind of big buckets here. So you want to take a look at limiting access to users, look at the different apps and data, make sure all of that's secure. And then we'll run through some external facing security features that HubSpot has. With limiting access, we'll look at users, user permissions, and then user access. That's different from users. That's just how the users get into their portal, basically. So, limiting access to users kind of starts with a review of looking at the users in your portal. You can get there by going to settings, users, and then users and teams. And this will pull up a list of all your users. And here you can deactivate, delete, or update anybody's permissions. And I'd say the first step in auditing your security in HubSpot is taking a look at this list and getting rid of any users that don't belong there. So this could be former employees, previous agency partners, people who maybe were on your team and switched teams, that they don't need HubSpot access any longer, that sort of thing. And when it comes to removing those people from HubSpot, there's two basic ways to do it. You can deactivate them, which no longer gives them access to HubSpot. They can't sign in, but it leaves their ownership records intact and they still appear on any user based reports. You can delete them completely. Of course, that no longer gives them access to logging in. It also removes their ownership from records and they don't appear on any of the reports. Before you remove someone completely, I would recommend reassigning any records that they own prior to deleting them. Pretty easy to do. If you click on the person, select that you want to delete them, HubSpot double checks. They give you a notice saying, are you sure? Here is a list of all of the contacts, companies, and deals that this person owns. And within that list, it will link right to a filtered view of those records so that you can kind of quickly reassign them if need be. Next, we can cover limiting access to the users that are still left in your portal. So there's a couple ways of getting this set up. So we'll cover super admins, permission sets, and properties, which are both enterprise level settings. So super admins, um, pretty self-explanatory, but they have access to edit and see, view, delete, export, import anything and everything. So I would really recommend limiting the number of users with super admin access within your portal. I know it is the easy way out to just make someone a super admin if they come to you and they say, I don't have access to something I need. But just because that is easy and fast doesn't necessarily mean that it is the right way to do things. Um, so I'd recommend taking some time to create some preset access settings. You'll be able to go and get new users set up pretty quickly with those without having to have them come back and ask for more. So that gets us into permission sets, which is, again, an enterprise level feature. It's something that you can set up ahead of time. If you have a group of people that are going to, kind of need the same access to different tools. Let's say the sales team, needs access to CRM tools, but not marketing tools, and your sales team is growing. You might want to create a sales permission set that, as those new team members are added, you can assign a permission set of permissions to them, basically. Uh, so, since this is only enterprise level, there are a couple ways to kind of basically recreate this feature without enterprise. When you have an existing contact and you have set up their permissions, configured them the way that you want them to be, you can always copy those permissions to new users when you set them up. Another kind of best practice that I would recommend is just maintaining a document, maybe outside of HubSpot, that outlines which groups of people need access to certain tools within HubSpot. Then, when those people are created within, their team or their group, you can just kind of reference your document and get everything set up pretty quickly without having to question, what you need to set. The next thing you can do within enterprise is set property level permissions. So the basic user permissions control overall access to certain tools and features and different abilities within HubSpot. But there may be times when you want to restrict access to certain properties. Going back to like the sales team example, you could maybe the sales leaders want to keep track of employee commission, but that isn't something that they want to make available to the sales team. You can hide that from different groups, users, and teams, or make it only available for super admins to view. Again, this, if you have this set up, this is again something, if you are setting it as something that super admins can view only, you'll want to take a careful look at making sure who those super admins are is who they should be. So the final internal check you're going to want to do regarding users is making sure that everyone is set up to access HubSpot securely. So HubSpot offers two-factor authentication, and that basically just requires users to confirm their login with a secondary device, maybe a cell phone or text their mobile number. And you can set this up as a requirement for all users if you go to the account defaults and the security tab under settings. And single sign-on is also another enterprise level feature for all enterprise level hubs. It allows you to give your users one account for all of the systems that your business uses. They can access HubSpot through signing on with that account. Next, after you've kind of reviewed all of your users and user settings, you'll want to take a look at your app and data security. And that kind of is three things that you want to take a look at. You want to take a look at your API key. Make sure that that is kept private. You don't want that shared or in a public space. You want to rotate that kind of regularly. And then you'll want to take a look at which integrations and tools have access to your account. So if you have, an integration set up with HubSpot and you stop using that integration, maybe switch systems or something like that, you can, and it's recommended to remove the old integration that's no longer in use. And along with that, this isn't something to do inside of HubSpot, but this is a good point to just kind of review all of the other external systems and tools that you're using and make sure that the same sort of settings apply to those as they do in HubSpot. Double check your users, make sure that the tools themselves are not accessing any data that they shouldn't be, or anything old is kind of turned off and shut down. Um, and then back to number 3 within HubSpot, you can always go review your API key, security activity, and login history to see kind of who and what systems are accessing your account and review what they're doing. All right. So we'll kind of go through a couple external security type features that HubSpot offers: GDPR, SSL, and then password protected pages. GDPR settings, these are located under settings, privacy and consent, and then data protection. Toggling on that switch will give your whole portal access to all of the GDPR related tools. That's things like the ability to collect consent and process people's data and communicate via forms. So you can add that little checkbox, and then it connects to a specific legal basis to communicate property that then gets referenced anytime you are doing something like setting up an email. Um, Under this tool, you are also able to set up GDPR compliant cookie banners. And once you toggle this on, you're able to do a GDPR compliant deletion of someone's record. So if someone says, I don't want you to have my data anymore, please delete me, that data gets deleted permanently. And the opposite of that is kind of HubSpot's standard. When you delete someone, you can restore them within 90 days. SSL, that it's part of the automatic setup when you're connecting a domain. That gets turned on automatically. If you want to do a custom SSL certificate, that can be done as an add-on through HubSpot. And then finally, password protected pages. These kind of vary based on the different hubs and levels that you have, but at marketing and CMS Pro and Enterprise, you can add a password to protect individual landing pages or website pages. So if you want to create a page and push it live and have people review it live before it gets put out into the world, you can put a password on it. And then at CMS Enterprise or Service Hub Pro and Enterprise, you can require member registration for things like blog posts, landing pages, website pages, and knowledge base articles, which again is a tool that's accessible within Service Hub. So that would be If you have like a paid subscription, you can have someone, pay for that subscription, and then they would get added to a list. And when they get added to the list, they get emailed a setup to set up their password to view those sets of pages that have this setting applied. And finally, I know we kind of went through just a high level overview of everything today, but HubSpot has this page that has kind of all of their nitty gritty nuts and bolts of how their systems are set up. I would recommend kind of going here, taking a quick glance if you're on the marketing or sales side of things, or um, a super admin maybe. But if someone on your legal team needs to see any of HubSpot's security information, this is definitely something to forward on to them as well. And that is all for today. Like I said, we are going to try and get through this pretty quickly, and I think we did that. So if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat. Otherwise, if you think of something later, feel free to reach out to support@madisonmarketing.com, and we'll do our best to track down the answer. Thanks everybody for joining us today, and have a great holiday.